North Hudson Public Works Committee. This meeting has been properly noticed. The roll call will show that all three of the committee members are present, and in addition we have our village engineer Kevin and our Public Works Director Mark. The minutes from our last meeting held on 21 June have been distributed for your prior review. Any additions or corrections that anyone has to those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes from 21 June 2011.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Wecken, second by Mark to approve the minutes from 21 June. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that is carried. Thank you, gentlemen. St. Croix Station project update, and I'm assuming at this point you will say it's all completed, under budget, and everything's good. Is that the report?
Words right out of my mouth.
Go ahead.
I guess, like you said, everything is basically completed. All the asphalt paving's in, 2 lifts are down, shouldering work has been completed, and then I understand that the restoration work was done basically today. So there really isn't anything remaining for any work out there. There might be some punch list items. Mark and I will be doing a walkthrough probably the next week or two, just to see if there's anything that needs to be addressed. But I guess the main thing to bring in front of the committee tonight then is there's a handout that I passed out. We're looking for, I guess, recommendation for approval on the first payment application. And on the second page of the memorandum will give you an idea of, all the different items as part of the project, and overall everything is coming in at budget, or maybe just slightly under.
We had some delays that were caused by weather, but I'm assuming that those delays did not cost us anything financially?
Nope.
Some
Yes.
residential frustration, I'm assuming, understandably.
Yeah, there was a couple of graduation parties that actually transpired when we were in that waiting period, I guess you would say. There was a couple areas up there where it needed to heal just because of the rain that we had. And we did do a test roll on that, and everything looked good up there for the subgrade prior to paving. So what we're looking at is recommending first payment request to Zappa Brothers in the amount of $96,385.57. And that does include a 5% retainer that's being withheld, just if there are any things that need to be addressed up there.
Yeah.
So we envision there'll be one more pay app that'll be coming in front of the Public Works, and that'll be the final. That should be fairly soon.
So do I need a motion to push this to the full board?
Yes, you've heard the report of the village engineer. At this point, if the committee concurs, a motion would be in order to recommend to the full board this payment as indicated, the 96.2. You want to make that motion, Stan?
I certainly will. I recommend that we make the first payment of $96,385.57 to Zappa Brothers, Inc. for the completion of the work on the St. Croix Station Street Improvements Project.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm assuming that there is no discussion since we've really vetted this at this point. Motion in front of us and seconded to approve the payment request as recommended by the village engineer in the amount of the $96,385.57. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that is carried unanimously, and that will be passed to the full board for recommended payment. Thank you, Kevin. Anything else on that project?
Nope, I think that's it.
Yeah. Next, we're back to an item that we had some discussion about last month, and that is the intersection at Cedar Drive North and Webster Street North. That is a deteriorating intersection, and I will turn this to either Kevin or Mark, which everyone is ready to lead that conversation.
After last month's meeting and everything else, Kevin and I met out there on site. We actually took some shots, which Kevin made up a little spreadsheet of the intersection. It actually shows you where the low spot is in that intersection as far as why we have so much water sitting in that area. I also had Monarch Paving come out there and take a look at it to see if that intersection could just be paved, just do blacktop alone, not reinstalling the valley gutter and the concrete valley gutter, and basically they will not just simply blacktop that intersection. They recommend that the valley gutter be reinstalled again. They say that if we would just blacktop the intersection, it would not.
Is that because of the base?
Well, basically not because of the base. Base would have to be redone anyway. Even with new base and everything else, what they're saying with the way that intersection sits, as flat as it is, there's not enough flow there just for the blacktop to be able to move that water off there. And basically they're saying that blacktop would just break up. They said the village would be wasting its money by just trying to blacktop that intersection. They recommend, and one I showed you is actually a sketch made by John Pastor from Monarch on how he recommends that we do it is actually stick the 36-inch valley gutter back in, then basically do 11 feet out in front of that to actually have it base removed, blacktop out of their base removed, base reinstalled, brand new base, and then they would come in with their machine and lay the new asphalt in behind, both in front and back of that valley gutter. And I'll turn it over from Kevin for here because he actually took the shots out there.
Yeah, right now, the way it sits, as you can see in that little handout that I provided, there's a low spot like Mark's indicated about in the middle of the intersection. So probably over the years that curb has settled to a point where the water's holding in that area, and that's why you're seeing all the asphalt breaking up. So what we were looking at is basically there's like two flared ends on the valley gutter, starting at those 2 points and then removing roughly about 32 feet.
Okay, I'll admit it. I'm not certain what you mean by a flared end on a valley gutter.
It's kind of the, where you have like the radiuses come around the intersection. Like on the north side, there's probably about a 5 or 10 foot piece in there, flared piece.
All right.
It's basically from the elevation of 99.88 to 99.98.
All right.
That's where we'd be looking at removing, and then the rest of it would stay in place. That looks
Okay.
to be in pretty good shape.
All right.
So you'd have about a tenth of a fall between those 2 points. And if you figure that out, it comes out to be at a 0.32%. And typically when they're paving, the minimum that they want to see is a 1.5%. Otherwise, they can't guarantee you're going to have some low spots, some pockets where water would be sitting. So, like Mark is indicating, the valley gutter would almost have to go back in to get to drainage to get out of that intersection.
On the subject of drainage, where is the closest storm sewer inlet to that intersection? I understand that's part of the problem. It's quite a ways up Cedar.
Yeah, Cedar and Michelson.
Michelson.
Yep.
So this will go a
A
full block?
away.
Yes.
Yep, that sheet drains all the way up to the north to that intersection where there's some inlets that are.
And that's why last month I gave you what it would cost to actually have catch basin stuck in that intersection. It was like $114,000.
Jeepers, maybe you could just get a pump, and when the water gets up to that intersection, pump it up to your garden.
Oh, possible. Just,
So where are we going with this thing then? What do we-
Yeah, what's the recommendation? I guess that's what I'm trying to,
Wow.
I guess the main thing is, we were looking at, putting the new, with part of the improvements, we would tear out the old and put a new valley gutter.
Yeah.
And basically what I did is I had Zappa Brothers refigure theirs, installing removing the existing valley gutter, the existing asphalt, installing new base, replacing installing a new valley gutter. And then basically, you also got a price from Monarch Paving for them coming in and actually doing the paving work.
So the bid that we've got, the proposal from Zappa includes the Monarch,
Well, actually, it's two separate,
Blacktop?
it'd be two separate bids. One is initially, it comes, total bill of this is, be $8,067 to do both, to actually have.
okay. Does this raise it a little bit then?
Yep.
Installing that, as you say, the flared valley raises it from what it is now?
Basically, yeah, in the middle spot, it would be raised, yes. So you would have positive flowage.
I need to ask this question
Sure.
carefully because it's going to sound critical, but it's just a straightforward question. The buses come down that area after loading, that's a one-way street, and then they all go through there.
Yep.
The buses obviously are bigger and heavier than cars. Is any of that compaction caused by the fact that that's got a lot of bus traffic?
Could be, it depends on what's actually underneath that curb right now. There might not be enough thickness of base aggregate under there. And that's kind of why it might have settled over the years.
Yeah, and plus the other
How
thing
long did
too,
it last?
basically roughly 30 years.
30 years.
Jeez,
I mean,
know.
it's,
Wow.
yeah.
That's a bitch.
And the other thing too is with the amount of blacktop that's broken up and everything else, that base most likely was saturated and everything else, so it's,
I think it's just a matter of figuring out where to get the money for it. And, I had a long talk with my brother on it, and my note, it's way too flat for the asphalt to work by itself, so.
and basically what I recommend is we do, as far as funds available, since we're not doing any seal coating this year, there is, basically right now, after we remove money from the seal coat budget to go in the crack filling and the hot patching, you have $9,468 in seal coating.
Paid for, done.
You would
Until the
consider
next
this,
one pops up.
you would consider this a critical repair
Yes.
project?
Yes, it's not gonna get any, it's, it's definitely needs to be replaced, it definitely needs to be fixed. It has to be fixed if we're gonna seal coat these streets next year, and they're on the list to be seal coated, so this has to be done before we can seal coat.
Yeah, and then there's other issue, I mean, with, it's right at the school.
Yep.
That piece of ground is dangerous. I mean, as far as, kids on bikes, if they come skateboarding down that hill, I just think it's something, I only live 2 blocks away and it is a mess down there.
And
so-
the largest thing is in the winter months and everything else, we are having to put a lot more salt down in that area just because of the low spot. We have so much ice and everything else sitting in that intersection that.
Well, it's interesting, the night of our last Public Works meeting, it was raining like crazy, you remember? So I purposely came the direction of that intersection, came through it to see the water standing there, and I mean, it is obviously a problem.
It's a pond.
It's a pond.
How many ponds we have, like pond 11 and this would be pond 12? Or what? As far as what we could,
Well, gentlemen,
maybe
you-
it's a park now.
You've heard the recommendation we have in front of us then, a combined proposal from Zappa Brothers in the amount of $4,700 and from Monarch Paving then for the 33 to complete the rehabilitation and restoration of that intersection. The funding of this would be the amount that we would not be spending in seal coating. There's about 9,000 there. This is less than that. So Chair would entertain a motion if there is one to recommend to the board.
I recommend that we send the proposal of combined work to be done on the Cedar-Webster intersection. You gotta do the math. To Zappa Brothers of $4,718 and to Monarch of $3349. To have this done using the funds from the seal coating that we had budgeted earlier this year that won't be done this year.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded then to proceed with the proposal from Zappa Brothers and Monarch in the identified amounts. and recommend this to the full board for completion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Mark and Kevin. Crosswalks and street markings, discussion and possible recommendation. Last month we talked about this. It was laid over until this month to get a little more information on a couple of subjects. One, some price differences in a 1-year paint and a 3-year paint, and then we also had some information that there may be available locally a striper. So turn this over to Mark to lead the discussion on our crosswalks and our street markings.
Basically, I looked into actually having, different type of tape or different type of paint put down on the crosswalks to extend the lives and everything else. And there is an epoxy out there, but what I'm Farner Asphalt does not actually, and they're the only one to bid on our painting. They do not actually do the epoxy. It is a special type of paint that goes in, everything else. But basically, they gave me a number from a couple of companies that did. When I contacted them, neither one of them actually responded. Basically, the way it sounds is our job just is not big enough for them to come out and do the work. One's from the Milwaukee area, one's from between Milwaukee and Chicago. What I'm being told is basically we can figure on tripling the cost that Farner gave us for doing this, and their bid was over $4,000 if you remember, so it'll be quite expensive. The other thing about it too is this epoxy to actually go out and clean them up and everything else. You'd actually kind of have to give them like an acid wash, to clean them up every year, and that can actually be more of a toxic or hazardous thing. So you're looking at some money there. Then we were approached with basically actually, Daryl, you sent it to me. You were notified that the City of Hudson has a paint machine, a sprayer, over their gas-operated airless sprayer, and they are willing to, because they've been using it as a backup machine for a new machine they purchased a few years ago. They are willing to sell this paint machine to the village for a cost of $1,000. It has a brand. Basically, I talked to Tom Zulli, who's the director of Hudson, regarding this last Friday. Tom said they are willing to sell the machine to the village. They are willing to train my personnel on how to use it and how to maintain it. They would allow us to use their stencils when they're not tied up in the City of Hudson. So that way we could use those until we can purchase or make our own. And basically, I went and looked at the machine today. Met with Dan Ortner up there, who is their mechanic. We looked at the machine, we tried it out, everything else, and myself, I believe it would make a good purchase for the village to purchase this ourselves. I believe we could save money for the village by actually doing this work ourselves instead of contracting it out. Biggest thing is that myself and my crew will have to get trained on how to use it. As of right now, I don't have any official paperwork from them. Right now, we're just in the discussion stage. So,
Understand. If we had, hypothetically, if we had our own equipment, do you have any projection as to what our cost of doing the work ourselves, factoring in our own labor cost, our cost of labor and the cost of the materials and the ownership and maintenance of the equipment, what that would compare to simply contracting with a third party to do it? Do you have any comparison for us?
well, I do not have anything for you right at this time because, like I said, I did not look at the machine until this afternoon to actually see what it looked like. I'll try to get something together for you before the next meeting, but to me, it's going to be cheaper than paying $4,000 to have somebody brought in here. Plus, the machine can be used for other things. We can use it for painting curbs, like PD's always wants more curbs painted yellow. And I think it's just going to be a lot quicker, just basically for us to actually go out and do this instead of. I think we'll be able to get it done Like, it seems like now our crosswalks are always painted right before the school year. I think this way we can actually be out there trying to get them done earlier in the year, you know, hopefully, but. And for right now, you know, it's gonna be a learning thing for us, you know, it's something that's, and Hudson, like they said, they basically, what we discussed is, they will have somebody come and with the machine here, show us how to use it, everything else, and then basically what we also discussed is possibly, having one of my guys go with the Hudson paint crew, work with their guy over there, and one of their guys will come over here. Basically, they have a two-man crew that does their painting. They'll just split them, and one guy will come over here and help do some stuff here in North Hudson. So, you know, and that way, two guys can be trained, you know, and at the same time, they're getting their work done, and we're getting ours done. So,
Comments, reaction from either?
Well, the $1,000, or if that is, you know, the number, that includes the training and stuff like that, yeah.
Correct.
more or less.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, if we have our own piece of equipment, you know, a lot of times we might add extra, you know, marginal crosswalks or marginal paint just to try to get, you know, I mean, to get the project big enough to get somebody to come in and do it. If we have our own equipment, it's like, all right, we need this one, this, you know, we can prioritize and pick rather than, you know, I mean, shoot $4,000 for, you know, to get them in to do everything we have painted, because we have traffic in some areas that is higher than others, and I think I think it would be a good asset to have our ability to do it and use it as we need it rather than have to bid it out all the time.
I think it's a no-brainer, it's $1,000. If it doesn't work out, sell it to somebody else. Got some paint and some time involved with it. And like he said, you can do it during the course of the summer. Right now, we rush to get them done by the school year.
and the largest thing initially, we're gonna have some cost, just because basically we do have to make up our own stencils. We have to do that, but it's
They'll last
stuff that, you know,
forever.
they'll last. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I think the clear consensus of the committee is that we're very interested. Why don't you pursue it with a little more definitive information, have it for our next agenda, and let's deal with it.
Agreed.
Well, it's going to be 2 months before we get it at this rate. What are we going to do, take the bid? It's July right now. When was Farner coming in?
No, actually, we have Farner, their salesman met with me today and everything else, and I told him that because of the price of everything else, that the committee, as at this time, has tabled the idea of
Okay,
having
so
them.
if we waited another month, we'll be approving it at the September meeting to get the paint.
Well, let me
sprayed.
ask this then. Are you guys comfortable in recommending to the
Oh,
board
absolutely.
at this point
Yes.
that we
Yeah.
proceed with it?
Yes.
This doesn't need an in-depth study. This
Yeah.
is just, it's $1,000 versus what do we spend in a year, 4,000 or 5,000 to get stuff
4,000.
painted? These guys are apparently not afraid to start doing that, so I don't see it being a terribly big deal.
And if you guys,
No, I'd make a motion, in fact, to recommend that Mark work with the city of Hudson, and we recommend to the board at the August meeting that we purchase the paint
machine.
striper, whatever it is, from the city of Hudson for not to exceed $1,000, and thanks for your work.
Second.
Okay, you've heard the motion, moved and seconded to proceed with recommendation to the full board for the purchase of the used machine from City of Hudson. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. And we will have that on the agenda for the August board meeting then. Seal coating discussion and possible recommendation.
Well, basically with with us taking of the $9,468 left in the seal coating budget after the removal for crack filling and hot patching, and now the $8,067 expense for the Cedar-Webster intersection, you don't have much for funds left to do any.
Well, and we essentially said at the last board meeting as a report from this committee
Yeah.
that we would be deferring seal coating in the village in 2011 because of the utilization of some of those funds in the other areas. So I think at this point, we've essentially indicated to the full board, and the board concurred, that we would not be seal coating in this fiscal year. Everyone comfortable with that?
Yes.
Agenda item number 7, and this was also in front of us last time, and you were going to give some more information on the
Yeah,
cleaning
basically
of the
what,
sanitary sewer lifts.
what I'm running into is that, because of the depth of our wet wells, some of the local septic services and everything else are afraid they would not be able to get all the way to the bottom of the lift stations to be able to vacuum them out and everything else properly. We have a couple other ones that are still looking into it. So basically at this time, I'm just gonna request tabling this again.
But the problem isn't going away.
No, problem is not going away. And one other thing as I do have Infotech is a large company of the cities, they said they will have no problem cleaning the lift. Biggest thing I'm running into too is, right now, because this is a municipal sewer, it used to be when wet wells are cleaned or anything else, they could be field spread just like any kind of a septic, just like a regular septic system being pumped or septic tank being pumped. That's no longer can be. It has to actually go
This
to
has to go to the
a
wastewater treatment
wastewater
plant.
facility, stuff like that. So we would have to work with
How
the
deep are they?
treatment plant. These,
Yeah.
2 of them are 25 feet, the other one's 26 feet.
Okay.
Okay, so you're deferring this to our next meeting again?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Anything on the Public Works budget at this point for
No.
consideration, Mark?
Basically, at the
Shot.
We have no budget.
At the village board, I guess you were given the year-to-date projected numbers are in your board packet. That's about all I have as far as budget numbers for you. The only thing else that Kevin and I looked at and everything else was possible projects, which would be Lakeview Drive, Pine Street. So I'll turn it over to Kevin at this time.
Just quickly, another handout passed out tonight. So we've looked at in the past, kind of our CIP project, 5-year capital improvement project list. And as you can see, you know, Station Lane, Station Circle, that one's pretty much completed now. So the next two that are kind of slated is the Pine Street and Lakeview Drive projects. And on, I guess on the rest of the handout, kind of put numbers to it, what it would actually cost if we did proceed with the project. You know, the sewer and water up there is roughly from 1964 to 65, so it's
Which, for Pine Street?
Pine Inn, Lakeview Drive. So it's roughly about 50 years old up there. And it's kind of a, what I would consider as a rural setting. It just has a 22-foot wide asphalt
Kinda
pavement.
quaint.
What's that?
Yeah, it's quaint.
It's, yeah. So,
Rural.
Have we
Most of the
experienced
people I
any
know back there like it the way it is.
Yeah.
It's 50 years old. Have we experienced any problems with it, though?
the only thing I'm really aware of, there was some laterals up on Pine Street that was giving
You're gonna
some
get
issues,
that
but
once in a while, but it isn't out at the main, right?
that
Not
I'm
at the
aware
main.
No.
Yeah.
No. So, well, we, you know, on the end of Lakeview Drive, there's 3 residents back there that are still on well and septic. As part of the 7th Street project, it was looked at, you know, for that area, what would need to be done to try to get those folks sewer. So they actually deepen or put the sewer down deeper in that street for anticipation of this down the road. So you do have that flexibility when you do the sewer and water in there, you can actually supply those folks with municipal services. So what I did then is, you know, for the utility portion of it, the sewer and water, put numbers to it, what it would entail, cost estimate wise, and then for the streets, we were just looking, you know, keeping the same rural setting, 22-foot wide with 3 inches of pavement, redoing the gravel in that area, and the restoration that would go along with it. So for the Pine Street portion, it's about 1,000 feet long, 2 feet wide, and for everything, it'd be a little over $245,000. for that portion of it.
These are some big numbers.
Yeah, bigger than what we've typically seen. And then Lakeview Drive, that section from Pine Street to the terminal. About 900 feet long, again, rural setting. For that portion of it, it's just under 200. So for, between the two projects, it's about
$500,000.
$450,000.
Acres.
Next. We've talked about this for 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got any of the residents of these two streets lined up out there demanding that we
There
do
hasn't
these
been.
streets.
It's mostly been a, I'm gonna make a kind of a hazard, silly statement perhaps, but it's just kind of flushing out this capital improvements project. There've been some years, I think some of these came up because there's a few houses that don't have, city sewer and water, so we kind of threw that up there, but as a pressing need, I don't think there has been a pressing need or anything driven by any residents to get anything changed over there, correct?
No.
Okay.
The other thing about it is basically as Lakeview Drive, if it's at the point where we're gonna have to do something with the street itself. The street is in,
Are these four Pacer rating fours?
Lakeview is actually a 3.
Is it?
And Pine is a 6.
yeah,
6, so it's,
five or six on that. So basically Lakeview Drive's at the point where we're gonna have to at least do some kind of a, mill and overlay, some of that, street reconstruction, It's at the point where it's in pretty rough shape.
Well, I think we all know that entertaining a project even under a capital improvement plan is just gonna put a lot more stress on things financially than we probably care to deal with right now. That's the understanding I have of it, and everybody's aware of what we have over there. They're not highly traveled streets. And I don't think the residents have been shortchanged over there, So I'm willing to thank Kevin for the information and keep it on the list, but with that sort of background, and I don't see any pressing need to move forward with this. I wouldn't myself approve it.
yeah, it's starting to get up there in cost.
Huh?
Starting to get up there in cost, I mean, considering what we've done.
Well,
You're gonna have to do both of them together.
Yep,
Yeah, a mill and overlay on a Pacer rated 3 street is understandable, but if we start digging the whole street up and replacing the sanitary
All the
sewer and the storm
utilities, yeah.
sewer, that's where we're looking at,
Yeah.
tremendous expense.
yep, that's where it starts getting real expensive, yep. And it's fairly deep up there, I'm envisioning some of those sections will be probably 20 feet deep just to get utilities down to the south side of Lakeview Drive, because it falls off pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
So, and that's where, you're gonna start seeing some costs.
Yeah,
for
I
doing
think might wanna wait on that one until we,
And there, there's another round of LRIP money coming out here this fall, and, that might be a good candidate, the Lakeview Drive, just to see if you get some funding dollars for it. Not to say, you would need to use them, but at least you could maybe try for it. And typically, it's, unfortunately, hasn't been a lot. It's been probably between $10,000 to $15,000 is what you get allocated.
yeah, this
Yeah,
one's
I would
always.
agree with Mark. I don't know how we could even entertain realistically recommending potential consideration of this in the budget process right now.
Yeah.
These dollars are roughly, it's roughly 20, not quite 20%, about 15% of our total budget.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the cost matches the need right now. I know a few people back there, and I don't think they'd even wanna pay what their portion of the improvements would be. at
That's my
this
point. I don't see people out there lined up demanding
Yeah,
that
so
we do
I
this.
don't, I think most of them are used to what's back there. They've run kind of side streets and back streets, if you will, and not to put them at a different class, but I'm
Yeah.
at a half a mil. It's a significant project for,
Well, I would also agree with Mark. I appreciate the work you did on this. This is good to see some specificity of what we're looking at, but these are kind of shocking from the standpoint of our capacity.
Yeah,
We don't have the capacity,
yeah,
obviously, to do that
Yep.
in the current environment.
that's understood. Yep,
Appreciate it.
yep, you bet, anytime.
Anything else from a budget standpoint at this point, Mark?
Yep.
Anything else from engineers report,
Our-
sir?
Go ahead.
Only thing, do you want Kevin to give you a rough idea of what it would cost to do just a mill and overlay on that street? I said she is at the point.
Well, it's a
where you're
Pacer rated 3 road. We probably, to be consistent with not falling behind the 8 ball on the surface capacity of our roads, we probably ought to see that, yes.
Yeah, Lakeview or Pine or both.
Lakeview Drive.
Lakeview.
Get you a number for that, for the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Well, one is a 3, the other section you said was a 5.
It's rated, it's basically a 5 or 6.
So the 3 rated section, which I understand
Lakeview
is
Drive.
Lakeview Drive, that's what I wrote here.
Yep,
We probably ought to see that.
okay,
Okay?
put that together then.
Anything
We,
else? Mark?
I have a question. When we get past here, we have Pine Street, Lakeview Drive, Shop Yard, Sixth Street, and Wisconsin Street. What's up at the Shop Yard? Is that something we,
Shop yards,
Should-
that's where you're looking at, because
Yeah.
you have the shallow
Yeah.
sewer and water, that'd be doing that, plus the extension going across from Cherry to Galahad
okay.
Road.
Well, if we're talking about capital improvement projects, if nothing's changed, am I assume that Pine Street and Lakeview was the most pressing thing in your
Well,
guys' opinion?
the
and-
one-
And that the rest were just gonna be
Actually,
this list?
Well, the
what
shop
it is
yard,
now.
the shop yards, it's all depends on what happens. If they decide to
Yeah,
go with that
rebuild
new
on-
warehouse
okay.
down there requesting sprinkler, then we're gonna have to update
So in
sections of
essence,
that sewer main.
there's no real need to change
I
this
would-
list as it stands now.
If you're gonna hold off on Lakeview and Pine Street, my point might be, you might wanna jump the shop yards above them, just because at some point, if they go to build that warehouse, that water will have to be replaced. We will have to do something in there to.
Well, we've not had any indication that they're moving forward on that warehouse. at this
I'm
point,
hearing
right?
at times they are, and at times they're not. It's kinda, right
Well-
now, it's because of the economy, that's why they're sitting.
We can move it ahead, behind, or whatever, but most times we attend to it,
Right now, I
whatever's
wouldn't-
needed, so regardless of where
We've
it is on
jumped,
the list.
we've jumped on the list before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good point.
we actually talked about creating a TIF district down
Yep.
there too.
Yep.
They
Okay.
can recoup some of the dollars to actually pay for those improvements,
Okay.
so.
So then we'll just leave this as stands for this current budget year, or for next year's budget year.
Anything else?
I guess the only thing, other part of engineers report, just information for you guys. It's dealing with, prevailing wage rates. There's been a change that's took an effect here on July 1st of this year.
Mhm.
Before it was anything over $25,000, you had to, public works project, you had to have a prevailing wage rate determination. Since then, now they've changed it, kind of reverted back to what they had before, where for a single trade, that threshold is up to $48,000. And then when you get into a multiple trade project, for a city or village, then that jumps up to 234,000. So again, it's just more of information for the committee members. You know, the St. Croix Station project, there was a wage rate determination on that. Under these rules, there wouldn't be the need for it, but,
Timing issue.
yep. So,
Okay.
that's about all I have then.
Mark?
Okay, supervisor's part, basically, only thing I really have is right now, we are sitting at, we have 3, storm sewer catch basins that are in need of reconstruction. Basically, what I did is I've put it on Mike Eger's to-do list to actually go out and inspect the rest of the catch basins, make sure if we can, there's no others. We just had one show up the other day after the heavy rains on Saturday, so I made it to 3. Basically, the reason I have not got a proposal done yet on these catch basins is, first, number one, I'd like to know if there's any more. The more you get, the cheaper it seems it drops the price. number two is there's absolutely no funds in the stormwater utility yet to actually repair these. So like I was talking to the administrator, we would have to find the money somewhere else to do these repairs. So at this time, just for information only, that we do have 3 out there that need to be repaired. And we are looking to see if there's any more. And then if we do, would be do a large number at a time, hoping to get a better price.
Are the ones that we've identified at this point situation critical? I mean, are they?
2 of them actually,
This year, or
well, they all should be replaced this year or be repaired this year. 2 of them are actually, sinkholes are in the right of way. One of them is actually in the street. That's at Deer Path in Summers. We actually got a metal barricade up
I've seen that one.
marking that area. So
Can we find any Eagle Scouts that have a project they want to do?
You'll have some more information on this for us for next month?
Well, I think
by
the key
next
thing is
next month I'll have
find a
it.
little money
better
next
find the
month.
money.
Yeah, the info is great, but
By next month I'll have the prices for you.
Yeah, good point. Prices are easy, money is harder.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can find bad storm sewer catch basins, but
Gentlemen, I think we've completed our agenda. Appreciate your attendance,
Well
and we're
done.
adjourned.